Island hopping in Greece sounds like a dream. Crystal clear water, white villages, sunsets every night. But once you actually start planning it, that's when things get confusing. Which islands go together? How do ferries really work? How many islands should you actually visit? And honestly, I've seen so many travelers make the same mistakes. Some of them costing time, money, and a lot of unnecessary stress. Hi, I'm Chrysula, a local here in Greece, and in this video I'm sharing the 10 biggest mistakes to avoid when planning your island hopping trip, so you can do it the right way. So let's get straight into it, starting with the one I see the most. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to fit too many islands into a short trip. A lot of travelers come to Greece for about a week or 10 days and try to visit 4 or even 5 islands. And while that sounds exciting, in reality it's exhausting. You're constantly packing, catching ferries, checking in and out of hotels, and instead of actually enjoying Greece, you end up just moving through it. A much better approach is to focus on quality over quantity. Try to spend at least 2 to 4 nights on each island. That gives you time to slow down, explore properly, enjoy the beaches, and actually experience the place. Because every time you change islands, you're not just losing a couple of hours, you're losing almost a full day in the process. And once you've narrowed it down to fewer islands, the next thing that really matters is choosing ones that actually work well together. Because not islands connect easily, and this is where a lot of trips start falling apart. Some routes require long ferry rides, multiple connections, or even going back through Athens, which can waste a lot of time. Ideally, you want islands that are well connected, usually within the same island group, so your travel days are smooth and simple. And honestly, this is where most people get stuck, trying to figure out which islands actually connect well. That's exactly why I created a step-by-step guide with ready-made routes. You'll find the link in the description below. Something else people don't always realize is that not all ferries are the same, and this can really affect your experience. In Greece, you will mainly find high-speed and conventional ferries. High-speed ferries are faster but more expensive and more affected by wind. So if the sea is rough, you'll feel it more and delays are more likely to happen. Conventional ferries are slower but bigger, more stable and generally more comfortable. You can walk around, sit outside, and the journey feels much more relaxed. And if you are prone to seasickness, this can make a big difference. A lot of people just choose the fastest option, but that's not always the best choice. Sometimes going a bit slower can actually make your travel day much easier and more enjoyable. And when it comes to ferries, timing is everything. A lot of people book too late, especially in summer, and find that routes are already sold out. That means fewer options, higher prices, or having to completely change your plans. And this is even more common on popular routes or high-speed ferries, which tend to fill up first. Ideally, once you know your route, it's a good idea to book your main ferry legs in advance, especially if you're traveling in July or August. Another thing people often underestimate is ferry schedules. Ferries are not like trains. They don't run every hour, and some routes are not even daily. So if you don't plan carefully, you might end up losing a full day just trying to get from one island to another. If you're not sure how to combine islands or plan your timing, I've broken this down step by step inside my guide. You can find the link in the description below. Another mistake I see quite often is people mixing completely different island groups in one trip. Trying to combine places like Santorini, Corfu and Rhodes might look fine on a map, but in reality, they're far apart and not directly connected. That kind of plan ends up taking more time in transit than actually enjoying the islands. You might need to take a flight, a long ferry ride, or even go back through Athens just to move between them. So instead of jumping across the country, it's much easier to focus on one region or on island groups that connect well. Your trip will feel a lot smoother and more relaxed. Something else that surprises a lot of people is how long travel days really take. Even if a ferry is listed as 2 hours, that doesn't include getting to the port, waiting, boarding, and possible delays. So what looks like a short transfer can easily take up half your day. And when you add check-in times and getting to your next hotel, it can feel like your whole day disappears. And this becomes even more important when you are planning the end of your trip. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is not leaving a buffer before your flight home. Ferries can be delayed or cancelled, especially in windy weather conditions. And even flights can be affected or delayed, sometimes due to strikes. So it's always a good idea to be back in Athens at least one day before your departure. It's a simple thing, but it can save your entire trip. Where you choose to stay on each island also makes a big difference. If you are too far from the main town or port, getting around becomes more complicated and time-consuming. For shorter stays, it's usually much easier to stay somewhere central, so everything is within reach. Otherwise, you might end up relying on taxis or long bus rides just to get around. And that can take away time from actually enjoying the island, especially if you're only there for a couple of days. And finally, timing your trip can completely change your experience. August is beautiful, but it's also the busiest, most expensive, and often the windiest time to visit the islands. If you don't plan carefully, you might end up dealing with crowds, higher prices, and ferry disruptions. If you have flexibility, the shoulder seasons like May, June, or September are often a much better choice. So as you can see, island hopping in Greece is not complicated, but it does require a bit of planning to get it right. And honestly, most of these mistakes happen because people don't realize how many small details go into building a smooth itinerary, especially when it comes to routes, ferries, and timing. If you want to avoid all of these mistakes and plan your trip the easy way, I've put together a complete island hopping guide with ready-made itineraries, ferry tips, and exact routes you can follow. And if you'd rather have someone plan everything for you, I will also be offering personalized travel planning services very soon, so you can have a fully tailored itinerary without the stress. You'll find all the details in the description below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Greece travel tips. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!